share that with other departments?
We're
Are we
going
going to have training for other people making
Yes.
hiring decisions or
Yes,
promotion decisions?
absolutely. We're starting with our staff first, but we're working actually with someone. We wanted to start with us as a team first and do more training with our team. And then the next step of that is that all hiring managers will also be invited and will have to participate in that process. So it's not just starting. It's just starting with us, but the goal is to have all staff to participate, all hiring managers participate in that process.
Are council members considered hiring managers?
Do you hire people?
Yeah.
Then you're very welcome to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cano?
Thank you, Councilmember Glidden. So, Director Ferguson, I'm on the second to last page under business plan highlights. Can you talk a little bit more about the provide opportunities for employees to become informed healthcare consumers?
Part of that is what we're doing now with the surveys that we do with employees. Secondarily, we have found that we're seeing a really good increase in participation in the different wellness programs. 75% of our employees are participating in those, and those are educational opportunities for employees to find out more about what their healthcare options are. Thirdly, we're partnering through our benefits broker with Red Brick Health so that people can understand and find out what certain types of, say, for example, an MRI, that's a good example. You can go to one healthcare provider and it's really expensive. Well, it's always expensive, but you go to this one healthcare provider and it's a certain fee. But what we have in our system is you can look at another healthcare provider where it's not as expensive. So it's really trying to put a lot of the onus on our employees so that they have the information that they need to help make informed decisions. So those are just a couple of examples.
Okay. I just wanted to give you some feedback so that we can look at this in the future. So I participated in the wellness program this year, and I found it extremely hard to navigate and complete. And I was actually spending more time sitting on my desk, filling out all the little stories and following through with all the clicks as I was actually exercising myself. So I know that I talked to the folks who run the program, and they were saying that last year it was too easy. This year it's like too hard. So as you're looking at that and just trying to figure out how to ensure that employees are able to fulfill their exercise routines and their plans and improve their healthy choices, I think we need to make it easier to use technology to achieve that instead of making it something that gets in the way of you getting out there to be active and do the things that people want to be doing to improve their health outcomes. So that was just a personal interface that I had with that platform, that as a millennial that knows how to use technology pretty well and can move in social media, it was really hard. And I just wonder what the experience was for other folks who, had to also try to figure out how to navigate that process.
Well, I will take that feedback. Thank you very much for the feedback, and I will definitely take it back to the benefits team.
Okay.
Councilmember Palmisano. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was a little bit confused by the presentation and how we're going to go about doing these as a whole. I find these to be good vision statements, but I'm left a little bit with, okay, where's the beef? I see that now in what you've emailed and being able to look just briefly at the department business plan that has specific tactics and targets. Right. And I hope that we could talk a little bit more about that when we go through these business plans as a whole. One thing that I don't see in here, and it might be just because I've seen it the first time this morning, but I want every business plan that we look at to prioritize audit findings. My specific frustration and example is with HR holding up an enterprise-wide data governance audit for 4 months for a piece of work that would have taken an hour to do. I think that there are issues such as hiring and enterprise-wide initiatives like data governance and IT that are going to take a lot of multi-department reaching efforts. But I'd like to see incorporated into all of these help and acting on recommendations, whether it's from our state auditor or whether it's from our internal audit department on all of our departments getting better. And specific to HR, I'd like to see it incorporated into the improved practices that you have as department goal number 3. I would ask that that be incorporated into the business plan to follow through with our audit department on the enterprise-wide initiatives that are at hand, and to do so in timely ways so that we can all move forward in a more coordinated way. And that's not specific to HR, but that certainly includes HR and all the business plans.
Okay. So what we have discussed with departments and kind of what we have done historically here is give our informal feedback just like we are doing right now, and then working with the departments on how accomplishable or not is, I'm not talking about your particular comment, but in general, the feedback is to incorporate, or maybe it already is incorporated. So I'll take those as kind of two maybe higher level comments. One is to talk with the coordinator's office about how were they talking with departments about audit or other types of follow-up on recommendations to the departments that were action-oriented recommendations from outside entities or internal entities. And the second one is there a balance with, how much detail do we want in these presentations? I will say that might be a little bit of the individual preference. And so we'll look at that moving forward, but it's a bit of a balance between some policymakers here wanting a very high level and some wanting a little more detail. And I'm glad you're able to look at the actual business plan links, because that is where we do have the most detail.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you'll know, Councilmember Palmisano, I have followed up on what you just said. And I'm working on a meeting because I need to find out exactly what happened and what we can do to improve. I have sent an email to the internal auditor as well as my staff who were involved in that. And the goal is to find out exactly where the miscommunication was. So I have already followed up on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see others in queue, just double checking here, because our next action then is to receive and file this presentation. And so I will move to receive and file. All in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And I want to say thank you very, very much for presenting your business plan to us and letting us know a little bit more about how you are incorporating your goals into your work on into the future. So
thank you very much.
And for being first. No problem. There you are. So with that, we are now to reports of committees, with the first being Community Development and Regulatory Services with Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. There are 13 items up for approval tomorrow. Item number 1 is the land sale of 95 properties in the Humboldt Greenway. So it's a fairly significant land sale of a whole bunch of parcels. Item number 2 is also a land sale. 3 is the tenant notification of voter registration information ordinance, and then also a direction to staff on that same issue in item number 4. Item number 5 are the licenses, the general license agenda. Items 6, 7 are license operating conditions. Item 8 is the eligible provider list for our employment and training services program. Item 9 are funding recommendations for our emergency shelter grant capital funding round. Item 10 is the resolution with regard to classification of tax forfeited land. And item number 11 is a staff direction on that particular item in the 3rd Ward. Item 12 is a interim parking agreement in the 3rd Ward, and item 13 is a license reinstatement. I'm happy to answer questions on items 1 through 13.
Thank you. Questions? Not seeing any. We have Health, Environment, and Community Engagement. With that, Chair, Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee is bringing 2 items forward for approval at the council meeting. The first is authorizing an amendment to a contract with Next Gen Healthcare Information Systems to allow electronic reporting of school-based clinic program immunization data to the Minnesota Department of Health. And the second item is authorizing comments on Xcel Energy's 2016-2030 resource plan. At the committee, we discussed some rather minor amendments, more in focus than in substance to this. So I may be bringing in a substitute, which I will share with council members before I do so. my plan was to have it ready for committee of the whole, but lo and behold, we're meeting ahead of schedule this week. So I didn't have my work done.
Next, we have intergovernmental relations. And for that, there's just one item. It is approval of a contract with Fagri BD for federal representation services. And if there are no questions there, we have public safety, civil rights, and emergency management. With that, Chair, Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. We have 8 items. The first item is an emergency services fees for technical rescue responses ordinance. Second item is Zero Towards Death Traffic Enforcement Partnership Program grant. Third item is Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension contract amendments. Fourth is 2015 Emergency Management Performance Grant. Fifth, accepting funds from the Minnesota Board of Firefighter Training and Education. Sixth, accepting funds from the Minnesota GI Bill on the Job Training Apprenticeship Program. Seventh, Minnesota Department of Commerce contract amendment. Eighth is approving a submission of the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Grant application, and I can answer any questions.
Councilmember Andrew Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a question. I was wondering if there's any talk about I assume from a legal standpoint, we're good on the charging individuals for emergency response. Is that correct? That's a question to our city attorney. Somebody raised a question to me about the equal protection clause on that.
Yeah, I was in the, Madam Chair and Councilmember Johnson was in the process of responding to you. We don't have any concerns along those lines.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. With that, our next committee is Transportation and Public Works with Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The committee will be forwarding 16 items for consideration. Item 1, we had considerable discussion regarding our second municipal consent action regarding the Southwest LRT project. Item 2 and 3 are about our special service districts, including our downtown business improvement district, the activities and funding related to that. Item 4 and 5 were about our tax exempt parcel street light and street repair operations. Item 6 is a motion to accommodate the zombie pub crawl block event. Item 7 is the Washington Avenue Street Reconstruction Project and a series of actions to proceed with that. Item 8 is the Downtown East Pedestrian Well Improvement Agreement. That's with Ryan Companies. Consider a lot of work to make sure we take advantage of those opportunities in that area. The following items referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 9 is the 50th Street France Avenue Parking Facility Assessments. Item 10 is the Clean Water Fund Inflow Infiltration Grant Agreement with the Metropolitan Council. Item 11 is to receive a grant from the Mississippi Watershed Organization for a project at the Stormwater Facility Conjunction at 24th Street East and Snelling Avenue paving project. Item 12 is the Municipal Parking System Contract with ABM Parking Services, a significant contract that's consistent with past agreements. Item 13 is the bid for Snelling Avenue 24th Street East reconstruction project and the actions required to proceed with that. Item 14 is accepting a single bid of Egan Company for an estimated expenditure of just under $2 million for labor and materials for our intelligent traffic signal enhancements. And even though it's a single bid, we compared it with past costs, audit compatible. Item 15 is accepting low bid of Ellis Black Construction for their work. And item 16 is accepting low bid from Minger Construction for an estimated expenditure of $5,835,000 to furnish and deliver all labor and incidentals for the Nicollet Mall sanitary sewer replacement project and authorizing a contract for that project. Those are all the items, Madam Vice President. I'll stand for questions.
Questions for Councilmember Reich? I'm not seeing any. So next we have Ways and Means with Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had 22 items on our agenda for Friday's consideration. First is we had a public hearing on the 2016 license fee schedule, no increase from the current 2015 license fee schedule. Item number 2 and 3 are legal settlements. Item number 4 is a contract amendment with Restorative Justice Community Action. Item number 5 is a facility use agreement with UROC. Item 6 is the Northside Funders Group grant, accepting a grant of $12,000. Item 7 is the gift acceptance for attendance of 2015 Business Day at City Hall. Item 8 is the design services agreement with Hagen Christensen and McMillan Architects. Item 9 is a lease renewal with Aggregate Industries. We also have a contract amendment with Hennepin Healthcare System, a contract for professional debt collection services, a contract with CenterPoint Energy Services for guaranteed supply gas service for the water treatment plants, information technology gift acceptance for fall 2015, travel-related expenses for 3 conferences for Mr. Dahl. The contract amendment with HLP, this changes the scope of work for some the software annual maintenance and support. Also a contract with A Plus Systems and a contract amendment with Bezotech. An IT contract with Koenig Inc. for elections management system software. A contract amendment with Deacon International for a new total of $120,000 for VisiCAD 5.x software. Item number 19 is a wireless Minneapolis community benefits account application by the Atrium. Item number 20 is a contract waives the bid process and enters into an agreement with for $95,000 for conduit installation. And item 21 is the master subscriber agreement for Minnesota Court Data Services for governmental agencies with the Minnesota Office of State Court Administration. And then we also have the final item, which is the Arts Commission ordinance. Happy to stand for any questions for those items.
All right, not seeing questions. So finally, we have zoning and planning with Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zoning and Planning has 5 items this cycle. Items number 1 and 2 are related to the Handicraft Building City Apartments proposed at 10th and Marquette. Item number 1 is granting an appeal for variances related to this yard setbacks, as well as including a staff direction that no building permit should be issued until some problems with crane tethering and shared use of the alley with the adjacent property are resolved. And then item number 2 is vacation of air rights for that same project. Item number 3 is vacation of a public alley at 8th and Chicago, granting that application. Item number 4 is granting vacation at 24th Avenue South and East 32nd Street. And item number 5 is updating the zoning code to bring it into accordance with the 60/40 regulations that were passed last year.
All right. Questions? Not seeing any. So with that, just double checking here. We have concluded with our agenda. I don't have any announcements. And so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.